Hello, good evening and welcome back, everybody. This is the Man United Chat. It is, of course, me, Stuart, Henry Weston's old mate, the podcast, but we're talking football with my old mates, Ali and Jay, and we have a new guest with us. Good evening, Liam. How are you, mate?
Good evening. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, really well, mate. Thanks for coming along. You are Jay's son. That's all right, mate. No, thanks for joining us. It's just what we need, a bit of a fresh face on here. So do you want to give us a quick introduction, Liam, who you are?
Yeah, sure.
Talk us through your Man United career.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Liam, Jay's son. Been a Red since 1990, probably, on it. 1990.
1990 was your first match.
Yeah. Yeah, I think first game I ever remember watching was the 1990 Super Cup final against Barcelona. Mark Hughes got two goals in that game, didn't he?
I think
was it Hughes? He dribbled it round the goalkeeper and slotted it in from out wide.
No, that was the Cup Winners' Cup final.
Cup Winners' Cup final. That's it.
Where's Ali gone?
He's had enough.
He's had enough of me already.
That's all right. He'll come back. Ali, are you there?
Am I back?
Yeah, he's back. Good man.
Sorry.
That's all right. So you like me a bit then, Liam. You've been a bit spoilt with some glory years, really.
Yeah, it didn't start off like that, but yeah, it went that way as I was growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, and now we're experiencing the not so glorious times, but we'll get on to that. So Ali, just while you're there, how are you, mate?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Yeah, looking forward to this. Looking forward to a trip to Old Trafford tomorrow.
Yeah, you're off to do the stadium tour, you lucky sod.
I am tomorrow, yes.
What's that? A belated gift from someone?
Last year's Christmas present from my daughters. Yeah, so finally got to do it.
Fantastic. Have you got a bit of merchandise lined up, or is Mrs. Milroy going to put a cap on the spending?
The whole Christmas shopping is being done in the megastore.
So the new addition on the Stuart Milroy side of the family will be getting something.
Absolutely right.
Fantastic. And Jay, how are you, mate? We see each other every day, but I best ask you how you're doing.
Yeah, very good, thanks, Stu. All good.
Man.
Yeah, a bit more positive now. We've actually kept a clean sheet.
So I'm going to, as Liam's the new guest, before we get into my run list, we'll go over things. We have a new manager, but how are we pronouncing his surname, Liam?
Ranić. I say Ranić.
Ranić. Okay, that's good because I wasn't sure. So that's what we're going for. Okay, perfect. So we last spoke, the three of us, before it was me, Ali and Jay, a little bit before the Liverpool game, gents. So that was the first game of football after the last podcast. And Jay, if I come to you, that wasn't too much of a performance, was it?
Oh, ruined more than my weekend, that did. God, blimey. It was well, it's hard to put a word on it. It was like clueless. I don't like saying it about your own team, but it's as clueless as I think I've ever seen us.
Yeah.
Just sort of running around, almost looking in the air while the players were running past them. I was like, what's going on? Unbelievable.
And Liam, you paid for the privilege to watch that game live, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, probably the worst day of my Man United following ever, I'd say.
And did it? I mean, it's a go back, but it looked like Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw. It looked like a Sunday League game where Harry Maguire had been playing, was captain, and he'd invited his brother's mate along, and they'd met about 20 minutes before kickoff, Ali, didn't it?
Oh, something like that. I was just, I think we should move on, to be honest, Stu.
Well, let's move on, because there was, we'll get on to Ollie and the Ollie era. I'll ask everyone to give us an overview. But, I mean, we had a 3-0 victory against Spurs after that Liverpool debacle. Flash in the pan, Ali?
Yes, I suppose so. But, you know, if we're talking about Ollie now, you know, all respect to him, but I think his time was up, wasn't it, really? He'd taken us as far as he could go. He has moved us on in a certain way, but it was time for something new. I think he knew that. Everybody knew it, and the time was right, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if we come to you, Liam, do you want to give us I mean, we had Ollie was in charge for 127 games, 59 wins, 32 draws, and 36 defeats. So, like Ali says, he moved us on in certain ways. But you got a brief thoughts on Ollie's time at the wheel, Liam, as everyone likes to say?
Well, I think the thing is, he brought a bit of identity back to the club. Like, he made us believe in attacking football again. Yeah. And I think the phrase that's been used quite a lot is steadying the ship is what he done. And as you said, I think he went as far as he could, and he just couldn't take us any further than that. It was just sort of like run out of ideas, didn't know what else to do. And really, for his own reputation as well, I think he went at the right time. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't just go on sort of club legendary status alone. We can't just rely on that. I mean, you know, he was given a chance to say goodbye. He was emotional about it, but, you know, he left with dignity. There was no bad feeling around it. So I think it was handled quite well.
Yeah. And Jay, we're coming to you. So in his sort of 2.5, well, we could say 3 seasons because we're not quite halfway through. But the season he took over from Jose, we finished 6th and then 3rd and 2nd, Jay. So Ollie will point to the fact that he did improve each year. But, I mean, those 3rd place finish and that 2nd place finish wasn't really a tilt at the title if in all honesty, was it?
No. Like Liam said, I think whether you call it steady ship or get back to United's roots. I think that's what he's done. Now, you know me, I'm a big Ollie fan. It broke my heart to see it go that way. It had to go that way. In the end, he mastered up and said it had to happen. But I think more disappointing than anything, that the 2nd and 3rd finishes were fantastic. It was all of the semi-final losses we've had.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Even if you take Fergie out of the game, Ron Atkinson back in the day, you get in a semi-final, you're in the final. Mm-hmm. You're not getting a final. 9 times out of 10, United win a final. And, you know, we've had a lot. And I think that last one, I would never have admitted it at the time, and hindsight's a wonderful thing. But the one against Villarreal there, I think pretty much the right would have been on the wall. And I think a stronger club like Abramovich, if you like, it would have been gone.
Yeah, and I mean, that final, we don't want to go back on what's sort of been and gone, but that final was almost a manager scared to go out and win for fear of losing. If that,
and we lost because of it.
The team selection and maybe not even so much the selection, but certainly the approach to the game. I mean, we could have been 2-0. I mean, if you go 1-0 up in a game like that against Villarreal,
we should have won the game, and he didn't win that. You know, I'm not picking on that one in particular, but all of those semi-finals we had, we've been in 4 semi-finals, I think, haven't we, a him?
Yeah,
and not won any of them. It's a poor shout in the United. You know, and with the money that he has spent, you know, with this summer alone, his spending has gone right through the roof, isn't it?
I think the worrying thing is, Stu, as United fans, under Ollie, we'd started to settle for second best. You know, we're United, we win things. You know, we're settling for a bit of mediocrity, weren't we? And that is not our way, and that had to change, didn't it?
I think the thing that had to change most, sorry, but in there, is just we need to control football games again, don't we?
Yeah.
You know, under Ollie, it was all about like defending deep and hitting on the counter attack. That's not the way United play. United on the front foot. Let them have it. If they score 2, we'll score 3, and that's the way it's. I know they won't agree with that, letting them score 2, but you know, got to be on their front foot. And I think very early signs, from what you can read about the guy, it's looking promising. I think after Saturday's game against Palace.
Yeah. I mean, if we will just finish on Ollie before we move on, but we mentioned the 4 semi-final defeats. I mean, let's be brutally honest, they were pretty comfortable defeats in pretty much every big game that Ollie sort of seemed to guide us to. I mean, the Villarreal game, let's not go back there. That wasn't a comfortable defeat, a game we probably should have won. But other semi-finals certainly came away thinking that we almost weren't ever going to win. And once you'd seen the sort of team sheet announced, you knew how he was going to set up. And
and if we knew how they're going to set up, the other teams certainly do, don't they? They'll be too predictable, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just finish it off. So the final game was for Ollie was that sort of 4-1 defeat at Watford, an absolute shocker. Any team can have them, we know that, but it was the putting the animal out of his misery, really. And he's not an animal, I shouldn't say that, but it was it needed it. It was sort of short and sharp at the end, wasn't it, Ali? It was a final.
It's quite a good analogy, that, Stu, really, because I think we knew during that game the players just weren't playing for him, were they? You know, if you'd done running stats and everything, much as they liked him and loved him and respected him, they just weren't there for him, were they? They were just not running. They weren't pressing. That word's going to come up later on, I know, pressing. But something was clearly wrong and something had to change.
And it has changed. We won't go on to Mr. Ranić just yet because that will sort of be what we come to after a few other questions I've got. But Liam, I'll come to you. You're as a new guest, so it's an interesting question. I've got one that I've written down. Harry Maguire as captain of Manchester United. We know his form's not so great at the moment. Hopefully he'll get that back. But when things weren't going quite so well for Ollie before his time finished, has Harry Maguire covered himself in glory with some of the press work he's done? And I mean, I think it's been pretty poor in my opinion. I'm not sure what you think, Liam.
Yeah, it just almost comes across like he doesn't know how to handle himself. He doesn't have much to say, really. If your manager's under pressure like that, you've got to come out as captain of the club and make a big statement and stick up for the manager and say, come on, we've got to get behind him. We've got to get these results. And, you know, he just doesn't seem to have much to say. And he goes out for England. He pulls on that England jersey and he'll go out and I mean, fair enough, it was against Albania. No disrespect to Albania. But he goes out and has the game of his life and scores a goal for England and gives it all the, you know, cup in the ears and all that. But where are those performances for United?
This is just butting in. This is sound really harsh, but he's not the brightest spark, is he?
No.
Let's face it, you know, he's not a inspirer. He's not a leader. You just can't see him inspiring, and I think he's probably best when he just has to do his job, to be quite honest.
Who do you think, if you take Cristiano Ronaldo out of it, who do you think is captain material in the team?
Fernandes.
The one.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious...
You know, we lack leaders, really, whereas you think under all Fergie's sides, any one of them players could have captained the side, Nicky Butt included.
Yeah, I mean, I listened in my tractor today, Jay. I listened to Gary Neville's early podcast that he does, or one of the early ones with Roy Keane, and I just imagine half or almost all that United squad wouldn't have suffered the performances in recent weeks. But certainly, if you think, how would Roy Keane have dealt with? He'd have dealt with it a lot better, I think, facing the screen or facing the questions. Maybe he'd have fallen out with a few. But he'd have stuck up for the manager certainly more. And obviously, he's been doing that in his work for Sky. He famously said, these 2 years ago, that these players will throw Ollie under the bus. Whether they threw him, I think they certainly gave him a gentle nudge towards the moving thing.
I think they opened the back doors and kicked him out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, I didn't like to say that, Jay. Okay, so, I mean, I'm personally not convinced as Harry as captain. I mean, I don't mind him. I think if he finds his form, I think there is still a good defender in there. We've discussed it before, haven't we, that whether that high line suits him. If he has to run backwards, he's a bit buggered. But there is still a good defender in there. So let's see how that pans out. I'm going to come to Ali with a question that I think a lot of people would like to answer. This is a good one because he varies, or he divides opinion across social media. But has Fred turned a corner, Ali? Is Fred the new Roy Keane?
Well, whenever I'm discussing Fred, I always come back to one point for him. He's a first choice on Brazil's team sheet. You know.
So was Cleverton.
You know, Brazil love him. He's doing a job for them. They must have found the right way to play him, mustn't they? Playing for the Brazil national side. They must have done. And possibly, under Ranjak, he's going to find that same role for him.
Yeah. And do you think that's higher up the pitch, Ali?
Pardon?
Do you think that's higher up the pitch?
It's hard to say. I think it is higher up the pitch because he's still playing him alongside McTominay, expensive too, isn't he? So that hasn't changed, has it, really?
Not yet, yeah.
The thing that will happen with that, though, is because under Ollie we play deep and we're inviting people on, Fred's sitting by our D.
Yeah.
So he makes a challenge and he's giving a free kick away or he's losing the ball, it's a goal. Whereas under it, we will hopefully be playing so much further up the pitch.
Yeah.
He'll still be playing in that same position, but he's in the semicircle and towards their D, and that's when he's winning the ball and we're scoring goals with, I suppose, a high press, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the more he plays in the opposition's half, the better, isn't it, basically?
Yeah, 100%.
Break up play.
Yeah.
The thing is, the new manager himself used to play CDM, so I think if anyone can fix the problem, it's going to be him because it's a position most experienced with.
Don't come in with all your abbreviations.
Central defensive midfield.
Yeah, it takes a while to work it out.
I mean, I've been doing my research. He retired at 25, didn't he? So he's been coaching since 1983. So you know, well, again, we'll get
working, Stu. That is.
I was born in 1983. We won't go into that. I mean, there's someone younger than me on the pod now, which is disappointing.
The only other thing to say with the Fred situation is if we solve the problem that's been there for a long time, 3 or 4 years, if we buy a world-class central defensive mid to play alongside him, that'll improve him even more. You know, he's played that way with the players around him. He's had to work. If we get another one there,
I agree. I totally agree with that.
Who would you pick though in that position?
What, given the choice of buying somebody?
Yeah.
Declan Rice, isn't it?
But I don't know though, because I mean, the club, in my opinion, have been buying players for the managers. It's only my opinion. I've got no proof on it. I mean, you know, that's a whole different podcast, I suppose. But you know, I think Declan Rice is kind of the done deal in the boardroom, if you like, because he's going to bring money in, and it's all of that. He's another England international. But you're looking at 100 million again. Players can 100 million. The days of paying 100 million's got to go, because look at Coutinho at Barcelona. Fantastic. Yeah. There's no guarantees any player's going to make it. I think you'd be better off letting this guy knows how he wants his team to pick his own man. If that's Declan Rice, fine.
The price is the problem, isn't it, Jay? The 100 million price tag.
Well, you know, it goes wrong like it.
If we shift some of the deadwood out and get rid of 4 of them for 20 million, you know, that equals Declan Rice.
I agree. Me and Liam were having a similar conversation in the car on the way down. But the thing is, you know, with these bigger transfer fees, now it's got silly time, you know, 100 million plus. I really think players, I mean, look at Kane. If Kane had gone for the money he'd gone and had the season he'd had now, the pressure of the world would be right on top of him. And it can ruin players, and there's no guarantees. So I think we should tread carefully on who we buy. But I do agree we need world class.
Is there there's talk in the papers and the sports apps that with Chelsea's current injury problems, that Rice could well be a New Year signing for them, and Abramovich won't be shy in splashing 100 million, will he?
And he's best friends with Mason Mount as well.
Yeah. So we'll watch this space on that one. That's all good. So we think you know. I love the Fred smile. I don't like the way he plays a lot. It infuriates me. But I mean, absolutely fantastic to see him score, and I really did enjoy the interview he did after the game in actually quite good English as well. I thought
it was brilliant, wasn't it? Just to see him smiling. He clearly loves football, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's quite infectious, isn't he?
But he covers some bloody grass. I'll tell you what. You could get him tuned into the level that this coach supposedly wants us to play. He might be a player, you know. Might surprise us. Might be having a Fredcast next year.
Now, the next point want to go to, and I've got to be honest, it's one that shocked me, one that I'm surprised we're even bringing up. But I'm going to sort of offer it in two twos rather than. But I've got Dalot and Tellez now versus Shaw and Wan-Bissaka. I mean, Dalot and Tellez, all right, the last two performances for an interim manager and then at the weekend for the new manager, Jay. But they both looked pretty good compared to Luke Shaw, whose form since the World Cup, he's struggled, and Wan-Bissaka looking like he put in the boots on the wrong feet before kickoff at the moment. So, Jay, what is it? Is it conceivable to even imagine that Luke Shaw might not be the obvious first choice at left back now?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the problems we've had under the past management is clearly he had his favourite 11, his trusted 11, and other people couldn't break in. Now, Tellez really played well that time we played against PSG out there, didn't we? We beat them. Played superb. He was putting some great balls in. And that's one thing he's excellent at, his delivery. Now, Luke Shaw's going to have to fight to get in the team. If you remember, he was very poor until we bought Tellez, and then he raised his game, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, and then he showed it off the biggest international tournament in the world.
Yeah, and then Dalot, I think he's got to be his number one right back. He's good defensively, and he's fantastic going forward.
Yeah, and we chatted earlier, didn't we, Jay, at work, and Dan Clark was sort of in with us on that chat, and, you know, this system that Ranić's going to play will allow him to, his starting position will probably be slightly higher up the pitch, which then will make it look like he's finds more advanced positions, but then it's easy to say he's starting higher up. But, I mean, I just looked, his delivery and his range of passing, I mean, Wan-Bissaka, am I being harsh to suggest he doesn't have a range of passing?
No, I don't think you are.
No.
You know my thoughts, the last two podcasts, I've been very worried about him. And that I was right.
But he's got away with that, Stu, hasn't he? Because the defensive side of his game has compensated for that. But that's well now, hasn't it? His positional play is absolutely dire, isn't it?
But that's why
he gets himself out of trouble all the time, doesn't he? Because of his speed of recovery and his pace, doesn't he? But that papers over the cracks.
Yeah.
Going forward, not got it, has he?
No, I remember, sort of prime era for me when Beckham and Gary Neville were forming, and no one would have said Gary Neville was a skillful right back, but he could get past Beckham, he could run that overlap, and he could deliver a quality ball. And he did it well. But Bissaka, he sort of what looks like, even to me, an old pub footballer, but what looks like an obvious give and go, and Wan-Bissaka will give it, and then he doesn't go.
No.
And he almost looks lost in the opposition half.
I just saw a stat I heard at the weekend or the weekend before last that shocked me was Clinton Morrison on the Saturday, Gillette Saturday thing. He'd only had 32 appearances for Crystal Palace at fullback.
Right. Before we signed him.
Yeah. Because he wasn't a natural fullback. I don't know where he must have played, although he was a bit further up. Well, he can't have been further up the pitch, can he? To be honest. But yeah, apparently, I don't know whether that's right, but Clinton Morrison said it 32 games before we signed him.
Well,
so he's very, very young in his football learning, isn't he?
Yeah, and the thing is, the modern right back needs to almost play almost like a winger as well as a right back.
Yeah.
And he just clearly. His defending, like look at his stats from last season. He was defensively the best player in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But he gets past the halfway line and he doesn't know what to do.
No.
And it's turning back on the ball, passing backwards, and when was the last time you saw him actually cross the ball? Because I don't remember seeing him cross the ball.
I mean, if you look at Trent Alexander at Liverpool, the likes of Cancelo at Man City, who's a fantastic signing in my mind. You look at what they can do
Reece James.
Yeah,
Reece James now. You look at
Brighton.
Yeah.
So many, isn't there?
But they're all kind of almost top scorers in their teams as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I don't want to talk about Liverpool too much, but you could see Alexander-Arnold weighing in with 10 or 15 goals in seasons to come, can't you? I mean, I know he takes free kicks, but you could just see what he's going to have that season where he gets 12, 15 goals.
But I think Tellez and Dalot could do that in time. They'll score goals. I'm not saying they'll score 10 goals a season, but they'll score goals.
That could be the title of this podcast. Dalot just scored 15 league goals next season. But while we're talking about attacking stuff, we'll come to Liam again. Jadon Sancho finally starting to show a bit of form, Liam. Given an opportunity, of course.
I think he just needed that chance to show it, really. You can see what he wants to do with the ball. He's got his head down. He likes to drive and do those weaving runs. I think, we expect a player to come in and just click like that straight away. I think given time, I think he'll come good. And I think he's got a lot to prove, especially being an ex-City player as well.
Yeah.
He's going to have a lot to prove. I think he, this time next season, we'll be talking about him probably as one of our best players, I'd say. I think he's got that in him. He's got that in the locker. It's just getting it out of him. And, with this new manager, the new manager's got a lot to say about Sancho as well. Because I know he tried to bring him in at Leipzig when he was manager of Leipzig, but Sancho chose Dortmund over them. So, the manager obviously knows a lot about him as well. So I think if anyone can get the best out of him, it's going to be this manager.
Jay, how much time do we allow him to settle in? We've mentioned it in the pod before, but when you're paying upwards of £70 million, how much time do these young superstars get? I mean, they've got to hit the ground running pretty quick, haven't they?
Well, Pogba still ain't settled in, and that's 4 years later.
Graham Souness is on the podcast.
But I just think he just needs to run a game, and he's never really had that under Ollie, did he? And as Ali said the other day while the game was on, play him on the right-hand side. That's what we've been longing for, a right winger. We've gone and bought a right winger. We're playing him on the left.
Yeah, crazy stuff, really. Let's go to Ali. Talk us through, Ali, obviously Mr. Ranić's only been with us for one game. Performances picked up under Carrick. I don't know if that was the opposition. He had Villarreal, Chelsea and Arsenal, so not easy. But these last three games take into account the draw against Chelsea, the win against Arsenal and the 1-0 win against Palace, Ali. How are you seeing that attacking end? The defence is a work in progress still, but how are you seeing, if everyone's fit, Ali, how do you want that attack to line up? How would you like to see it?
Well, it looks like he's got a preferred system, doesn't it? He's playing this 4-2-2, isn't he? So
4-3-3, yeah.
Two number 10s, so to speak, where he's playing at the moment. He's playing Bruno and Sancho there, isn't he?
Uh-huh.
Up front, he's been playing Rashford and Ronaldo, hasn't he? So I'm still getting my head around his system, to be quite honest, how they play it. I mean, the Palace game, I only saw a bit of it. I only saw the highlights. So did any of you see the whole 90 minutes?
Yeah.
I did.
What did you think about the system? Because, I haven't seen the whole game, so I can't really talk about it.
I don't watch a game and think system. I mean, it was pointed out at half time that how they were playing. And it was Robbie Earle, I think, on the TV show I was watching. And they was like, when they put like two banks of four in it, they put the lines there. It was 4-2-2-2. But I mean, that could be so exciting if you're moving quick. And the whole idea is, I think, as I said earlier, they're squashed further up the pitch. So we've got all of those extra players in there, and it's crowding the midfield out. So it's stopping them playing pretty pitches round us like they have been the last couple of years. It should force all of the pressure into their area. What happens when you come up against somebody that does similar to you and that?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I did see some possession stats. It's the best possession stats we've had for a while, and it was the winning back of the ball that we've done for a while, which, you know, is high tempo football, isn't it? Which, let's face it, it's great to watch, isn't it? Bring it on.
I really enjoyed the game for a 1-0. I enjoyed the game.
Even the was better yesterday. I thought they looked like they knew what they needed to do yesterday. They didn't look so lost.
Right.
It was organised. It was good high pressure. It was what it needed to be.
What you expect?
At Old Trafford.
After one training session and one game, let's hope, you know, when you give him 4 or 5 games, it's going to improve even more.
Yeah. So let's throw a hypothetical out there. Ranić, Jay, I'm going to come to you. As a good season, let's say we win the majority. We've got a very nice run of games coming up.
We have.
He finishes this season quite well. I don't think we're going to win anything cup-wise, are we? But well, we might. But what happens for you, Jay, at the end of this season if Pochettino is available, makes himself available? How
very soon. They're looking for jungle drums are beating out there apparently on TalkSport earlier. I was listening on the way home. They're not happy with the white style of football. Apparently, there's a lot of murmurings in the background that, you know, they're not getting. I think they drew against Lens last night, PSG 0-0, I think. And
I think Fofana in the middle of the Lens.
He's struggling a little bit like Ollie though. He's struggling with the big names.
Yeah. A few Spurs fans in a couple of WhatsApp groups I've got, they probably won't watch this, but I could have made a cheap joke about his time at Spurs and not managing any big names then, apart from Harry Kane. But that would be wasted on those. So again, it's hypothetical, but Ali, is Ranić? He's an interim appointment, and then everything suggests he's going to move upstairs to a director of football role or so. But if we're playing well this season, I'm not sure how it will work. Obviously, with transfer windows and stuff, will he be given money to spend in January if he's only in on a short-term basis? It's all questions to throw up, isn't it?
I can't see it. You know, we never spend big in January, do we? Other than who do we bought Bruno, actually. Didn't we buy Bruno in the January?
Yeah.
So that was the biggest one, wasn't it? And I know he's after one of his old players, isn't it? Is it from Leipzig? Is it central mid? Is it Haidara?
Yeah, Haidara or something. Yeah.
He's a good player, isn't he? So, and I think there's a buyout clause, isn't there? 30 million or something for him.
I'm not sure.
So, I mean, he might be looking at him, but they're not going to break the bank in January, are they? They're going to wait and see how he does first of all.
I would have thought so.
Well, that's certainly a lot cheaper than 100 million, isn't it?
That's what I mean. It's better off getting somebody that's what I was trying to get to earlier. Somebody he knows, he can trust to do the response.
Who can play his system and knows how he plays, you know, who can slot straight in, maybe alongside Fred.
Well, yeah.
So there's a couple of players I'm going to ask Liam to sort of to come in here. Bit of injury concerns, but where are Mason Greenwood and Cavani fitting in at the moment, Liam? Can Cavani play this system, this Ranić system, up top next to Ronaldo? Is that an aged attack that we can't rely on?
Well, me personally, I'd be at the moment, if he was fit, picking Cavani over Rashford, because the body language is off with Rashford at the moment. He doesn't look like the happy player he was before. I don't know if he's rushed back too early from his injury, if he's still carrying an injury, but to me, he just doesn't look the same player this season. I know he scored a goal when he came back, but he's just looking a bit off.
Yeah, agree with that.
And Cavani, the thought of Cavani and Ronaldo playing up top together in the same team, I mean, who's gonna turn their nose up at that? I mean,
I like the idea.
You get, sorry.
Yeah.
With Cavani, you get the added bonus, don't you? He can play Ranić style of pressing, and he's brilliant.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, exactly. He'll get what he wants out of him with that. He chases back for everything. You know, he'll be back up for corners, heading it out defensively for corners and things like that. So, yeah, he'll get that style out of him that he, will fit his system. But then there's the question: can Cavani, at his sort of stage of his career, play every game? And possibly no. So that's where your Mason Greenwoods come in. Greenwood, towards the end of last season, I think it was Greenwood, his scoring record, his performance was excellent. Yeah. I think he's kind of being held back a bit by Rashford. It's not having to go at Rashford for any way, but, Rashford seems to get favoured over him. And is that stopping his growth as a player? But I think, maybe give Greenwood more of a chance. If Rashford needs more rest and recuperation time, give it to him, because when he's back and he's fully fit and he's strong, he's excellent. But at the moment, we're just not getting that from him. He just looks somewhere else at the moment.
I agree.
Yeah.
Forwards, don't you? I mean, in the glory years, we had York and Cole and Solskjaer, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we need 4 forwards, and there's 4 forwards there. Over the course of a season, you're going to use them all, Stu, I think.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just wondering how long Mr. Greenwood. Well, he's gonna as the sort of junior pro, so to speak. But his performances, or he will start to wonder if Rashford's sort of either getting that starting position, or if Rashford's first off the bench and he's putting in these lacklustre performances. And I think it's fair to suggest that some of his recent performances have been lacklustre. But let's see. I've got the point written down next, because I always like to talk about the goalkeepers, being an ex-pub goalkeeper myself. But I mean, we decided on the last podcast that De Gea was back to his best, and I think he's probably, since we last spoke, may have enhanced his slightly damaged reputation even further in recent weeks. Do you think, Jay?
Someone doesn't like him.
Oh, Jay, are you not convinced?
I side with Roy Keane. I think there's a sniper in the crowd the other night. I mean, what was that about? Honestly, can you imagine Schmeichel doing that? Can you imagine Van der Sar doing that? Anybody? I mean, you don't lay with your back to the ball, do you?
I could imagine Fabian Barthez doing that.
Yeah. Yes, you could. Yeah.
Paddy did.
But if we take that out of it, Jay, and we can talk about the
far better.
Yeah.
Few games, hasn't it?
Yeah. To be fair to him, I'm not his biggest fan, but I thought the last game he'd ever played for us would be after that Villarreal game, and he's turned it right round, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, I have a soft spot for all goalkeepers and wicket keepers if we're talking cricket, Ali. But it's good to see. Yeah, I mean, I was a bit baffled. Let's go on to that Arsenal game. I was a bit baffled by that, as I think the whole of the footballing world was. And the referee was put in a situation that he just should have blown his whistle, perhaps, but that's easy for me to say sat here. The performance, though, Ali, much better, wasn't it? It was obviously under Carrick. It was Carrick's farewell game, so to speak, and he departed the club, actually, afterwards. But we looked like... Watching it, I mean, I wasn't convinced, and then I was convinced. And as the game drew on, I actually felt that we were going to get a positive result, Ali. Did it play out the same for you, or did I?
Sort of. It was hit and miss, though, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
We were relying on individual brilliance again, weren't we, to get us through? And that was very much what happened in the Ollie era, wasn't it? Really? It was Carrick's football was a continuation of Ollie's football in some ways, wasn't it, really? I think the only thing that changed was every time a new manager comes in, there's a reaction, isn't there, really? And he got a reaction for his first 3 games. I don't think he played a particularly different brand of football to Ollie, and perhaps that's where we are going to change now, because the brand of football is going to change.
Did need a sweep right through, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
Needed to just to get, a big change now.
Yeah.
One thing that did come out of that game, and I personally wasn't particularly surprised, but we won a penalty. Fred, got his left leg out just in time to get the contact. But I mean, it definitely was a penalty. But then senior pro Ronaldo picked up the ball, Liam. Is Ronaldo the penalty taker now then? How does it work? Because I mean, Bruno's missed one rather high-profile penalty, but he now seems to be down the pecking order.
Would you take the ball off Cristiano? I don't think I'd want to.
I might have tried.
The only thing is, every time he picks up that ball, you just know he's going to score, don't you? Well, I mean, I don't remember seeing Ronaldo miss a penalty. I don't want to jinx it now.
He missed one in Russia.
Moscow.
He was hoping that.
He missed the one in Moscow, didn't he? The first one in the shootout.
Yeah.
What have you done?
But yeah, Jay, where does Mr. Donny van der Beek sit now? Has he got to prove himself to yet another manager, or not yet another manager? He never proved himself to Ollie, did he? Maybe the story will come out one day. Maybe he was having a dabble with someone Ollie likes to have a dabble with, whatever was going on. But something was off there.
Well, again, go back to what I said earlier. My belief, it's only my opinion, I think certain players were put on him, including, who'd say no, we're not having him. But his plans weren't for Ronaldo, and it's not go over what he's got again. But I think it's this guy here. If he doesn't get him into his team in the first 6 months, I'd say he's got to just bad. I think he'll probably choose to go anyway, won't he?
We talked about that earlier, didn't we? We were saying the commentator in the game on Sunday actually said that the problem with Van der Beek under Ollie is Ollie was asking for so much more out of him in training, and he just didn't seem to be producing at training. So, I don't know what it tells you about him as a player, but
I just find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
The whole situation, Ali, that he came in and then just hasn't been played.
I can't believe he's not putting it in training. I just can't believe that. No,
I don't see how it can. You can get away with that as a professional.
No.
But if you were putting it in training, surely you would get a bit more of a look in than what he's got.
Yeah, I don't understand the situation. And the crowd love him, don't they? Sing his name constantly.
They do, yeah. He's like one of those cult favourites.
Yeah.
A bit like Will Grigg.
Yeah. I mean, look at him against Watford. Was it what? Not. He was the only one that looked like he was trying in the second half against Watford.
He come on at half time against Watford and scored just almost within 5 minutes, didn't he? But so he'll probably hang around. He won't go in January now. There was talk of loans to potentially Everton and a few other sides. I would assume the manager will want to keep him close now.
Yeah.
But
tomorrow night will be interesting, Stu, won't it? Because he'll change it up a bit. I think a few of those fringe players like Donny are going to get a chance to show him what they can do tomorrow night, aren't they? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why he shouldn't throw a few sort of perimeter players in, and let's see how they go. I mean, I assume Henderson will get a go between the sticks, won't he? Yeah. If we're talking about Henderson or De Gea, I mean, I'm just not convinced by anyone who stands in front of the goalkeeper at the minute. The left and the right back we've talked about, Dalot and Telles, they look promising, but I'm not convinced. Let's ask Jay on this one. Jay, what we've gone over it in both podcasts before, but do we have a Varane? But do we have a settled centre back next to Varane when he's fit?
I think he will. I think he'll get somebody else in personally, whether him or the manager. I think they'll get. I read somewhere the other day. Is this Koundé? Is it or the guy at Seville?
Oh, the Koundé at Seville. Quick, plenty of pace.
I wouldn't rule out a German defensive centre. Maybe coming in with him being German. I mean, they do what it says on the tin, don't they?
Yeah.
We need somebody to actually defend.
I think what he'll do, he'll give Varane Maguire partnership a chance, see how it works out. If it doesn't work out, then he'll move. But I think he'll give that a chance first of all.
Yeah.
So probably but again, this like we've said, we won't spend big money in January, if any money. Potentially, this come in from Leipzig, as Joe and Liam were mentioning. So Maguire, he hasn't got a chance to prove himself because it's not about proving himself, but just to get a run of games with a settled partnership that actually doesn't look like we're going to concede 5 when the big teams come to Old Trafford. I'm not convinced Harry Maguire is the man. I don't think anyone is, in all honesty. But let's see. I mean, I'd still rather have. Nothing against Lindelof and Bailly. Bailly gets talked about. You know, he's that sort of foil with the pace. He's that foil to Maguire. And then he plays like a clown, in my opinion, when he gets. So let's. We're sort of coming up on 45 minutes, guys. We don't want to push it much longer. Where are we at, Ali? I just come to you. How are you feeling? Rangnick as a good appointment. You're happy with the appointment? There wasn't much else out there, was there? Conte obviously went to Spurs. He seems to have got them playing half decent football in the league. But we have got Mr. Rangnick now. Can you see some positives for the rest of the season, or is this just going to be? Is it going to peter out slowly, and are we going to sit here in early December and say we'll just take our lot this year and start again next year? That's not very Man United, is it?
I think we've got to go in with an open mind. I think what he's going to bring to us is tactics and a system, something we haven't for quite a while. We've got to see how that pans out for him, really. And if the players respond to that, he's got the best possible chance now, hasn't he? Like you said earlier, Stu, I think we've got 12 games now that are winnable. We're not playing anyone top 6, are we, the next 12? So he's got the possible chance, hasn't he, really?
Yeah, I mean, we can sort of, let's see.
I know I think we got Norwich, Brentford, and Brighton, haven't we?
It's something I can't think. Where's the screenshot that I had of it? But yeah, like you say, Ali, it's not. There is. I jokingly said in our WhatsApp that I fancy us to win 12 out of the next 13 games. I mean, West Ham are in there. But let's say it's certainly you'd like to think 9 or 10 wins out of those 13 fixtures wouldn't be. I mean, you've got to be winning 9, 10 out of 13 fixtures to win the league anyway. We're not going to win the league, are we, Liam? But
definitely not.
As a new manager coming in, you'd look at that run of fixtures and think I could make a name. Well, not make a name for myself, but I could really sort of stamp my authority on this team here and get them playing some really confident football in the system that he wants to play. And let's be honest, that opposition, we should be in a position to impose a system on the opposition with that run of games.
Yeah, I don't want to go into it and say we should be swiping these teams aside, because we've made that mistake recently of thinking, oh, we're coming into this game, we're going to win. Look at Watford. I mean, I thought we were going to absolutely walk that game, and then we end up getting embarrassed and losing a manager over it. So, if he can, like you say, really put his stamp on the team, get them playing the way he wants to play, I think it's better to do that against some of the sort of, lesser threatening sides. Get the system playing the way he wants it, so that it's there ready for when, later down the line when we do play some of them bigger teams.
Yeah.
But certainly shouldn't be walking into these games just expecting to win at the moment. Not the way we've been playing, but it is a chance to pick on and improve it, I think.
I mean, Jay, if we look at it, I've got the picture in front of me now. So we've just played Palace, Jay, and if you look, we are away at Norwich and Brentford. Then we've got Brighton at home, Newcastle away, Burnley and Wolves, and Villa at home. Away to West Ham, back home against Burnley, home against Southampton, Leeds away, and then our old nemesis, Ollie's old nemesis, Watford to finish. But Jay, I mean,
better than that, does it?
I mean, I'd fancy getting 6 or 7 wins as a Man United boss if you give me the wheel for a month.
I hate to say this, but what would Klopp and Guardiola and Tuchel to that thing? What would they expect? They would
win every game.
Well, certainly, I'd think you got out of them. I think 10 certainly. You should be able to expect to win them, but we always fall foul the last kind of, right since Fergie's left. It's the Newcastle's at home, and how many records Newcastle came there last year or the year before and beat us for the first time since 1974.
We lost to Sheffield United at home.
All of these Burnleys were coming up and turning the side. No disrespect to any of them teams. That's what the Premier League's about. It's good that they can do that, but they're the games that we've got to strive to get to thinking these are the games we think. We're way off it at the moment. Hopefully, I can do it. But, it's got a funny old way of turning around and biting you on the bum when you actually think that it's that one that you can win. Hopefully, yeah. I mean, let's be positive. And, they're the games you want, aren't they, as a manager to start with, really?
Do you think we're missing that fear factor as well? That United, it used to be teams would be scared to play Man United because they knew they were going to lose 4 or 5-0.
Right, we can get that back. We've only got to go on a run of 6 games or something like that.
Exactly.
Let's play devil's advocate, and we'll close this off in a minute. But Ali, what happens if Mr. Ranić loses 4 out of the next 5? Against this lower class opposite. We've got Norwich next game. What happens if we don't get a positive result against Norwich? And then sort of Brentford away after that, should be. But what, I mean...
I'm going to swat that question away, Stu. Ain't going to happen. We're going to win.
Good stuff. All right, gentlemen. Well, that is 52 minutes. Liam, if as the new guest on the pod, and hopefully the regular guest when we get together, any final words? Do you want to? Could you sum up Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a man and as a Man United manager for us to sort of finish us up?
Well, there's only one word you can say, really. It's legend, isn't it? That's what he's always going to be. We're going to look back on the better things that he did for United rather than looking back at the sort of negative end to it. I think, we just forget that now. Let's move on. Let's try and keep positive and hope that there's better things to come, because not the United way, the way it's been. And, I can't hold that against him. The players have to take a bit of a blame for that as well. But let's turn a corner now that we've got this new manager. I mean,
let's get behind Ralph.
That's it, exactly. That's it.
And if the rumours are true, he sort of declined the sort of £7.5 million golden handshake, didn't he, by leaving on sort of mutual terms, which I
think he's going to give it to charity.
He did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gents, I will thank you all very much. We will stop recording, but stay on the line. So I will just do that now. Thank you very much for joining me, gentlemen. And we'll get together potentially before Christmas to have a look over how we've been in the last few weeks and have a look over the sort of busy fixtures over Christmas, guys, if that suits you.
Pleasure.
Yeah, great.
Thank you very much, gents.